Hello and welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a deep look at people's opinion on such issues. I am Ruth Osime. Welcome back to Perspective here on Arise News. Within society, there's a split between pro-choice and pro-life. Pro-choice are those who support access to abortion, and pro-life are those who seek to restrict it. Generally, people who identify as pro-choice believe that everyone has the basic human right to decide when and whether to have children, while those who identify as pro-life are more concerned about the life of the fetus than they are about the life of the women who have the unintended pregnancies. The black and white labels of pro-life and pro-choice pit people against each other as if they're on two different teams. But the legal restrictions of abortion do not mean that abortion doesn't happen. It is simply driven underground and becomes more dangerous. In Nigeria, for instance, abortion is only legal to save a woman's life. Otherwise, it is strictly prohibited and carries a jail term of 7 years. But despite its criminalization, a lot of women still indulge in it and clandestinely by patronizing unlicensed medical personnel, resulting in a lot of complications and maternal mortality. Death and complications arise because most of the abortions are performed by unqualified abortion vendors. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, around 73 million induced abortions take place worldwide each year. 61% are unintended pregnancies, while 29% end in induced abortion. In developed regions, it is estimated that 30 women die from every 100,000 unsafe abortions. In developing regions also, that number rises to 220 deaths per 100,000 unsafe abortions. We are heading for a short break, but stay with us because we are getting set to explore all facets of the contentious subject of abortion when we come back with our guests. Human rights lawyer Ayobe, Chairman Global Pro-Life Alliance Dr. Philip Njemanze, and specialist surgeon Dr. Onyinye. Perspectives will return in just a moment. See you soon. Welcome back to Perspective here on Arise News. Yes, it's that time when we usher in our special guests. First off, we have Ayobe, a lawyer, columnist, TV presenter, and an activist. Obe is known for Nigeria's human rights, legal and social movements, and advocating for democratic reform. She was the president of Civil Liberties Organization and was listed as one of the heroes of the June 12 struggle. She serves as a managing partner in a Lagos-based law firm, Ogushola Shonibare, and sits on the board of multiple civil society organizations. Ayobe's activities has raised the profile not only of women, but also the human rights community. Also joining us for this discussion all the way from Owerri, Imo State, is Dr. Philip Njemanze, who is the chairman of International Institute of Advanced Research and Training. Dr. Njemanze is founder and medical director, Chidikon Medical Center in Owerri, Imo State, as well as chairman of Global Profile Alliance. And last but certainly not the least is Dr. Onyinye Lazson, a member of the West African College of Surgeons and associate fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, both in the Faculty of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. Lazson was amongst the first set of female residents at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Federal Medical Center, Ebutemeta, here in Lagos. Prior to joining FMC, Dr. Lazson has also worked as a medical officer at St. Nicholas Hospital, Marina, Lagos. Good day, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you on Perspectives. Ms. Obe, you are a regular face. And you welcome for your first time being in Perspectives. Because today, as you know, the topic is quite controversial. You know, and everybody, depending on what side of the fence they're sitting on, feels very strongly about it. So let's start with you, Ms. Ayo. Contraception and legal abortion has played a crucial role in enabling women to dictate the pace in which they want to have their children. How do you see women continue to progress if they cannot control, or they're not at liberty to control when they want to bear children?
Well, I think it's very important for us to recognize that contraception is an important part of this discussion. And if we leave contraception out of it, and there are some religious organizations which believe that even contraception is in itself an offense. So I think that we can't leave that out of it. Women have to be able to control their fertility if they want to realize their full potential, and also, of course, to experience the fullness of life and health. Even medical advice, well, let me leave the medical advice to the medical doctor. But from the perspective of women in Nigeria, we have to recognize that we don't have the same kind of protections that women in other countries do. I mean, I'm a big fan of Judge Judy Ruth, and every time I'm watching it, there's some fellow coming up and or even the women coming up, and they're being what's talked about is, have you paid your child maintenance? Have you paid for your child? And it's pursued through the courts. It's pursued to the extent of removing people. We don't have that protection here. So a woman who has a child is made pregnant is going to carry that load by herself. It's possible that there may be other support, but if there isn't, she's on her own.
What about that scenario? You were talking about a child that when you got back from England and a child that died and the church service. Tell us about that experience.
I always remember this. I had finished my youth service and I was now in Lagos. And a friend's sister had died at the age of 16. And I went to the funeral. It was not just traumatic because we were mourning, we were burying a 16-year-old young girl, but also because I remember being almost coming out outraged at the way that the priest who conducted the funeral service had berated everybody, had castigated the deceased, and all her little school friends in the church, they were there weeping and shaking and weeping. Of course, I was coming from England, where it seemed inconceivable to me that a 16-year-old would die because she needed an abortion, or she felt she needed an abortion. And in this case, it's later that I learned that this young girl had died because she had been forced to resort to she decided she wanted an abortion, and she went for an unsafe abortion. And I think that while it is true that abortion is illegal in certain circumstances, it would not be correct to say that it is illegal in all circumstances in Nigeria, and particularly in Lagos State. There's an obligation to provide a safe abortion if a woman's physical life is in danger. I think it's important we have to emphasize that it is the physical life or physical health is in danger, which does not mean to say that unless she dies, it doesn't necessarily have to be a matter of dying or not dying. But we've seen cases of even ectopic pregnancies that women have been forced to undergo because hospitals have refused to provide them with the necessary medical care. So I would say that I'm somebody who is pro-choice. Personally, I would always choose life, but I don't think I have the right to impose my choice, what I would choose, on others.
Okay. Speaking of which, Dr. Onyinye, I know that it has been said that the abortions you can have with abortion pills, and then the abortions you can have with the full procedure. At what stage do the abortion pills work? And then secondly, what is the longest stage that you can be pregnant for before it's legal for you to have a termination?
Okay.
When I say legal, I mean, what is the longest stage biologically can you be pregnant for before it's safe to have an abortion?
Having an abortion can be done at any time during the pregnancy.
Even if you are 8 months pregnant?
Now, like she rightly said, sometimes we've had some medical conditions where we have had to terminate pregnancies. Maybe women who have preeclampsia, eclampsia, those are hypertensive complications that can occur in pregnancy. But basically talking about the medication abortion or medical abortion, where abortion is procured with the use of pills, or the procedural or surgical abortion, where you actually have to get to the hospital to have the procedure done. Give or take, this can come in at any time in the pregnancy. However, most first trimester or early pregnancy abortions can be safely procured with medication pills, while surgical abortions or procedural abortions will typically
so at what stage
come in.
At what stage do medical pills now work? I mean, would it work if you're 3 or 4 months pregnant?
Yes, even if you're there, there are some pills that can be given to prepare the cervix. That's where the opening where to the uterus, where the baby would come out from, and then you can induce labor, and then the woman still goes ahead to expel the baby.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have Dr. Philip on air? Okay, Dr. Philip. Good to see you on Perspectives.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yes,
to Perspectives. Please. I want to ask you a question. Some can argue that pro-life advocates are inherently anti-women because they're inflexible when it comes to violence cases related to women that lead to pregnancy. That you, in fact, prioritize the fetus at the expense of the woman's health. What's your take on this?
Well, let us actually illustrate this very well, and I want your listeners to be judges here. Okay. Let us take the worst case scenario they present, where a woman has been raped. Okay, so you have the victim standing before the judge. The judge says, okay, let us award her some financial compensation for her psychological trauma and the physical trauma. Say, okay, we give her 2 million naira. Then the person who is the rapist, we say, okay, well, he has done very bad, so we give him 14 years imprisonment. The child that was conceived from the action of that rape, we as judges, you want us to pass a death sentence on that child. So the rapist gets 14 years, the woman gets 2 million naira, and the innocent child who was not even there when the abortion happened, and when the rape happened, who was not part of any of this, who is totally innocent, you want us to pass a death sentence on that child. I, as a Nigerian, with good conscience, will say no. That's why I am pro-life. And those who will say, oh, we want to kill the child, that's what you call pro-choice of death. So this is what illustrates the situation. It is about social justice. It is about natural justice. It is about legal rights of an individual, because once conception has occurred, he's a full citizen. He has his own organs. He has his own, everything about the child is independent of the mother, except the umbilical cord, the artery that supplies blood, and the vein that takes up the waste. That's the only link. The fetus is not the body of the mother. I don't know where they get this biology. The fetus has their own body and their own circulation. Every organ is intact. The mother has the right to her body. Yes, that's her body. But the fetus has also a right to his or her body. Okay. So this whole argument is a fraud. When people start saying, no, the woman has a choice. Choice of what? Choice of death for the unborn, who in almost every circumstance is innocent. Okay. There is no situation where you can find the unborn a culprit to any of the crimes, whether it's by incest, whether it's by rape, whether it's unwanted. Unwanted by who?
Okay, let me ask
you. But you cannot then, because you say you don't want, then you kill an innocent citizen. An innocent Nigerian guaranteed for life by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Okay. So this is why we and many Nigerians say we are pro-life.
Okay. Okay. We know that a woman may end a pregnancy for different reasons. But when a woman gets a diagnosis of a serious health complication that threatens her life, or learns later in the pregnancy that there's a very serious fetal diagnosis. Oh, the baby is dying and can't even survive for long. When people are facing such difficult, complicated, personal medical decisions, does a one-size-fits-all law work? What do you now say in that situation?
No, wait a minute. I know one of my colleagues there mentioned ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancy is no pregnancy. It's not pregnancy in the right place. So the fetus is destined to die. So the care there is by medical indication. The pregnancy is not viable.
Yeah, but the other
it has to be removed.
That
is not an abortion. That is not what. No, wait a minute. That's not an abortion. That's not what we call it.
No, but I'm not talking about ectopic pregnancy.
No,
I'm talking about when the woman's life is in danger, or it has been said that the baby is going to die and will not survive for long.
Practical situation? Can you give me a practical situation?
I'm not a medical doctor.
You can't give me a practical situation.
So are you saying there are no?
Why?
But are you saying there are no situations?
These hypothetical cases.
Are you saying there are no situations where the woman's life is in danger?
For 40 years. I've been in practice for 40 years, and I know many colleagues who are ups and guys who have been together in many ways. Really, these practical situations don't arise.
They don't exist.
Don't arise.
There's no situation when a woman's life is in danger.
Yes, they don't exist. Where you have to kill the fetus because
where you have to save the mother because her life is in danger.
I am telling you, in practice, doesn't arise.
This is a very controversial topic,
and
doctor.
I tell the colleagues, okay, give me a practical. No, let them give me a practical, real life situation. In fact, the only woman who it was close to be that was made a saint by the Catholic Church because she said, let me die and my my child survive.
Doctor,
both of them survive.
Let's pause this here because I have another doctor in the house and I have to ask her this question. So I'll come right back to you.
That's fine. That's
Dr. Onyinye, are you saying, like how Dr. Benjamin just said, is it true that there's no situation where a woman's life is going to literally be in danger if she has that child and she has to take that child out to save her life? He's saying there's no practical situation like that. Correct? Is that right or wrong?
Well, I'd like to differ a bit on that because there are some medical conditions, there are some heart diseases like where you have severe pulmonary hypertension, you have coarctation of the aorta, Marfan syndrome, where pregnancy is even sometimes absolutely contraindicated in such women because we know that with pregnancy there are a lot of changes that go on in all the systems, the cardiovascular system being one of them, and then for such women embarking on pregnancy can be a dangerous journey for them. So those are there are some few conditions where pregnancy is contraindicated.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, Ayo. Nobody seems to talk about the trauma. Nobody seems to talk about the trauma that entails when you have abortion. Do you understand? And because of that, some women also might not want to have the abortion, but society or lack of finances or whatever also pressurizes them into having this abortion. What's your take on that?
What I would say is that as long as we treat abortion as something that is, as long as abortion is treated as ipso facto illegal, then a woman who finds herself considering such never has she has to quickly go through a secret path, she has to hurry, she has to do everything without being able to ask people, without being able to get, I wouldn't necessarily say professional care, but she's not really able to discuss it. That young girl, for example, would probably just have asked her friends, and all they would do is direct her to where she can get it done. She won't have the opportunity to discuss with her parents, to say, look, this is my situation, mommy and daddy, what can I do? Even parents, because you're hurried down this path of secrecy and haste, where you don't really get the opportunity to consider the trauma. You don't get the opportunity to consider the long-term effect. And we've seen too many cases of people who have treated abortion as the equivalent of contraception, because, as I said, contraception should be part of this discussion. But we've had women who have treated abortion as their own form of contraception. and when they're ready to have their children, it's been a problem.
So,
so I think that if it were not treated as something illegal, then there would be more opportunity for each individual woman, because to me, it should be done on a case-by-case basis. Your question about one size law fitting all is very correct. And I'm surprised. I know of people who, I mean, sitting there, bleeding, and until her husband came in and said, please, deal with this matter and save my wife.
Yeah.
That is where you see yourself. You see the suggestion that a woman's life can never be in danger because of pregnancy. Pregnancy is an extremely dangerous procedure. It's something that women go through, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous, but there are, of course, we pray that every pregnancy should result in happy, healthy baby, happy, healthy mother. But that is not the case, and we shouldn't pretend, in the interests of our belief that every life is sacred, to put that aside. Because to me, if you say that an ectopic pregnancy, even though there's a conception, is not a pregnancy, then what are we talking about? Are we talking about pregnancy, or are we talking about life? Because there are those who do believe that once there is conception, there is life, and therefore you should not take it. There are those who believe that there may be conception, but we cannot call it life yet. And in fact, in the old days, even the Catholic Church used to have a period of time within which it would consider that this being that is being brought into, this creature that's being brought into being, is now to be considered as a human being. But we can't say that it is completely one size, because Mother Nature herself is more ruthless than we know when it comes to aborting pregnancies.
Let's go back to Dr. Philip. Dr. Philip, are you there? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Dr. Philip?
Okay, I can hear you right now.
You can hear us. Okay, you just heard the opinions given here.
Yes, the issue on the psychology, you know, there is post-abortion psychology. And if you ever search your net, a whole, quite prominent website called Silent No More. These are women from the United States who have had an abortion, and they have been traumatized by that abortion, that post-abortion psychology. It's even worse than actually any other situation, and they have to confess of the abortions they have. They are going around the world recruiting people so to actually bring out women from this deep trauma. Abortion is traumatic, psychologically very, very traumatic. So the truth of the matter is that the so-called pro-choice movement have actually hidden this truth from women, that what has happened to a woman after abortion is a lost child, no matter the circumstance. And that woman will be traumatized for life after an abortion. This whole thing about women freedom from that is, you tell any Nigerian woman, and I know most of the people participating in this program are women, the loss of a child is so traumatic that sometimes the woman will tell you, I feel if I died, it would have been better for me. So to tell a woman that, oh no, you're going to have an abortion, all your troubles are over, it's not going to be. It's just
can I ask you a question?
And what we are saying.
Can I ask you a question? You talk as if banning abortion would listen, doctor. You talk as if banning abortion would drastically reduce or even end it. You don't seem very concerned about the death and injury to women who have had no choice but to have illegal procedures. What about the simple fact that illegal abortion is widespread in countries where abortion is virtually banned? Isn't that a danger in itself to the welfare of women?
Well, let me shock you. Till of recent, because the U.S. have started reversing them, they have actually reversed themselves on Roe v. Wade in most of the states. The illegal abortions still go on in the United States. So the fact that, oh no, you legalize abortion and everywhere will be, you will not have illegal abortions is not true. Partial birth abortion, that is the abortion of almost a developed child, is the worst thing that can happen. And to tell you this, though you are saying that abortion is illegal, but even in Nigeria, abortion is legal. And I can tell you the so-called Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, almost in all the states where it was passed, legalized abortion. Let me tell you, in Imo State here, abortion is legal. How do they do this? They say, okay, a person is a male or female. A person is a male or female. When you say a person is a male or female, okay, a woman aborts a child, we do not know whether it's a male or female. You go to court and drag her to court that she aborted a child, then the judge will ask you, is it a male or female, in order to qualify as a person to be protected by the law? No, of course you don't know. So if you don't know, no person was killed. So trickily, the whole international anti-life movement came to Nigeria, bribed legislators, and passed abortion into law. It's the same thing they did about same-sex marriage. So the truth of the matter is that we have been duped as a nation by this whole international anti-life criminals going around the whole place passing abortion law. And it's not in the interest of women, it's not in the interest of the nation, it's not in the interest of anybody. In fact, the greatest problem the world is suffering today, even in the most advanced countries, is the decline in population. What happened? Those countries passed abortion law.
Okay.
So the truth of the matter is that this is a whole fraud industry of the so-called pro-choice women's rights. It's just they are exploiting women in order to carry out their agenda.
Anyway, Dr. Philip, your views are very strong, but that's why we have opposing views. We'll be going on a break shortly, and we will come back to you on this topic. Please don't go anywhere. So we'll see you soon right on Perspectives. Go grab your cup of coffee and come and listen to this very controversial conversation. Welcome back to Perspectives. So let's, Ms. Obe, I want to take you on what Dr. Benjamin just said about abortions being legal in Nigeria. Because as far as I know, it's supposed to attract a 7-year sentence.
It really depends. In the northern part of the country, the penal code applied, and under the penal code, an abortion was illegal except where it was necessary to save a woman's life.
Exactly.
And if an abortion was carried out under those circumstances, without those circumstances being present, then the sentence could be up to 14 years.
Yes.
In the southern part of the country, the criminal code applied, and there it was just illegal. And if you gave a woman drugs that would procure procure a miscarriage, that would get you 7 years. But you see, these are state laws. So the criminal code is state law and the penal code is state law. So each state is now at liberty to enact its own, what suits its own culture and circumstances. So in Lagos State, for example, since 2011, the criminal law of Lagos State makes abortion legal in circumstances where it's necessary to save.
So that's the only time that is legal. It's not legal when you want to do it, even if you don't have a life-threatening.
It's not legal.
Whatever.
But we have to distinguish, of course, between legal and societal practice, because you've heard this expression, dilatage and curate, or D&C. That's another term for people saying, well, I just went to have my womb cleaned. Isn't an abortion? I just went to have my womb cleaned, and that, oh, so a baby inside. So you have this D&C. And I remember reading a story, an account of a woman who was talking about her husband who had misbehaved with a house help. And the house help became pregnant. And this was in a newspaper. I remember reading it. So this woman was not afraid to say, because she said that when she discovered that her house help was pregnant, although the pregnancy was by then between 4 months or more, I took her to hospital and got that thing out. And she was actually, to me, and this was before the 2011 law. So I felt she was quite bold and saying it was a matter of course This was what I did to preserve my marriage and make sure that my husband did not have children that were not within our marriage. So to the extent that Dr. Philip is saying that people don't necessarily behave as if it's illegal. And in fact, when you find people facing penalties for procuring abortion, is when the woman dies under the care, in the process. Otherwise, everybody is complicit and they go about their business. And as I said, to me, the issue of, and I think it's wrong to talk about pro-choice people going around the world, and our doctors, our legislators have not been bribed by anybody, and that's why we don't have, that's why we have an anti-same-sex marriage laws in Nigeria. But I think that when legislators weigh the issue of the health, not just even the physical health, but the mental health of women against the possibility of the life of the fetus. Because I don't think that we should be emphasizing this question of innocence. I think it's actually, who is to say what is innocent? Who is to say who is innocent and who is not innocent? It implies that if I'm a miserable sinner, which we all are in the eyes of God, if I'm a miserable sinner, then you can more easily kill me than, no, I'm sorry, that should not be the determining factor. Okay. And so I think that we should if people are allowed to go around the world talking about their trauma from abortion, and that's not being brainwashed by the West, then I think that people should be allowed to, and we should really stop taking our cue from the United States in this matter, in any event.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I want to ask you, Dr. Onyinye, let me give you, I want to tell you a scenario of what happened. There was a young lady who was pregnant, and apparently went to one of these well-known hospitals, no names called, and they refused to do the abortion for her, and they referred her to another doctor who was open to it. And of course, the place where they referred her to was not as nice, not as equipped, and what have you, which now leads me to the issue of quack doctors. Because if Dr. Philip is saying that it's legal, then hospitals should be able to conduct the procedure, correct? But they can't, because most times, most of these hospitals, they tell you that it's illegal for them to do the act. And I mean, I'm giving you a life example. And so I want to ask, when most people who go to these quack doctors, what are the side effects? What are the fatal experiences that women go through? I've heard of situations where they leave the fetus, sometimes from the fetal tissue. They leave it inside. So what are the bad physical effects that can arise from quack doctors?
Okay, like we had said earlier, abortion still remains illegal in Nigeria, except it is done to save the woman's life. And that has made it something shrouded with secrecy, a lot of clandestine nature of the process. And then this is what drives these women to those quack doctors. And then the complications from an unsafe abortion, which is defined by the World Health Organization as the termination of an unintended pregnancy, either by a person lacking the necessary skills or in an environment that does not meet the minimum medical standards.
Which in most cases
which is what happens in most cases. You can see that this has increased the incidence of unsafe abortions in the country, because women most times would go to these quacks to remove the unintended pregnancies. And then what are the complications? Complications are far-fetching, can be physical, psychological, there's that psychological component to it. And then you see most times these women coming down with bleeding that can even be life-threatening. A lot of times they can have infections because, like we said, most times these abortions are procured in unhealthy environments and with unhealthy, not sterilized instruments. It will amaze you as to what people use, even cloth hangers, iron cloth hangers, bicycle spokes, sticks, everything going into that place. And then you can imagine the complications that can arise from that. Most times no antibiotic cover, nothing. And then you see these women coming down. A lot of times, even apart from the infections, the bleeding, you see them coming with injury, perforating the uterus. These people don't understand the anatomy, perforating the uterus, injury to other organs. In short, a while ago, we had to take a patient to theater. She apparently had gone to procure a safe abortion and had a perforation with injury to the intestines. And then she had to have surgery. We invited the general surgeons to have the part of the intestine that was damaged removed and all that. So the consequences can be far-fetched. That's aside the psychological trauma of depression, guilt, and then even feeling of having rejection and all that. And then that brings us to a very important component of what is called post-abortal care. Post-abortal care is a specialized package of care that is offered to a woman, either following a spontaneous, by the way, abortions can be spontaneous, or induced. Induced is when you now have the woman herself saying, oh, I don't want to continue with this pregnancy. So it's a specialized package of care offered to women following a spontaneous or an induced abortion. And the aim is to preserve the reproductive potential of this woman. Because like we've said earlier, with these infections, you can have them coming down with chronic pelvic inflammatory diseases, infertility in some cases, ectopic pregnancies and all. So what are the components of this care? First of all, we treat the life-threatening complications that the woman presents with. Then a very important component is post-abortal counseling. Post-abortal counseling both before, during and after the process of or the abortive process is very important. So this will include dealing with these psychological consequences that they can come back later with or they can develop. Then we also have post-abortal modern family planning or modern contraception, because you don't want this same woman coming back pregnant and having to go procure another unsafe abortion. So you offer them contraceptive services there and then, even before they go home. We have linkages to other reproductive health services or facilities, such as sending them for HIV screening, STI screenings, using that opportunity to have them have their cervical smears and cervical screenings done. And then we also have the community partnership, community and service provider partnerships, because we see the abortion is in the community, and if it's something that we're going to deal with, we have to deal with it in the community. We've talked about contraception. The fact that most people don't take up contraceptive options is what most times results in them becoming unintended, having unintended pregnancies, and that's what drives them to procure an unsafe abortion.
Okay, it's good that you mentioned contraception. Is Dr. Benjamin in the house? Because I want to ask him about that. Is Dr. Philip, sorry. Dr. Philip, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yes, actually, the pro-life movement endorses natural family planning. What does that entail? It entails a woman knowing the physiology of her body. We coach you exactly when to have intercourse and when not to have intercourse, your unsafe periods. So if you have the natural knowledge of how your body functions, you can prevent pregnancy 100%. I'm not saying 99%. I'm saying 100%. So this issue that the pro-life movement says you should have children every time, that's not true. We teach you exactly and coach the woman and teach her, every woman having a personalized calendar when is safe and when it's unsafe to have intercourse. And once they learn this, they don't have to ingest these dangerous chemicals. These estrogen-based chemicals are the worst chemicals on earth. They cause cancer, they cause depression, they devastate the cardiovascular system. So why in the first place? So contraception is not, the chemical contraception is not the ideal way, even medically. So we can coach you exactly and teach you the natural way. And most doctors who are pro-life and who integrate the pro-life aspect do this excellently. Okay. And many women can go about their life in a very planned way.
Dr. Philip, your views are very controversial, but I guess that's why you stand by them. Now, you've spoken about going the natural way, that even the contraceptive pills are long-term not very good because they can cause all sorts of ailments. But you've not taken into cognizance some women who actually do not need more children when they have kids already. Many women that are having abortions, some of them are already mothers. Many of them are also too poor to afford any more kids. So for some reason or the other, they find themselves pregnant. Maybe some of them would have had the baby if they had more support, like healthcare, good jobs, etc. But you and I both know that charity can't begin to supply all these needs. So what do you think the government can offer to women who want to end a pregnancy because they simply cannot support another child? What would you advise the government towards this, to do towards this?
Well, as I said, there is a part to this. If we integrated natural family planning, no woman will have this so-called unwanted pregnancy.
But it occurs. Unwanted pregnancies occur.
Illiterate society.
Unwanted pregnancies
wait
occur.
a minute. First of all, you will have it drastically very low, if not even absent, if you educate the people. But what's the education going on? If not for this your program, I know most of your listeners don't even hear anything about pro-life or contraception. You have to educate the society. You have to educate the women, the Christian women associations, the different societies for youth and young women should educate the society. It should be part of the curriculum everywhere in the schools at all levels. So it is that type of society where people know about their body, their natural body, not the sexualization of education, which is happening with funding coming from the United States and all the billionaires who want to end this society in terms of contraception to extinction. No, what we need is for us, our doctors can do it. The doctors of Nigeria can do it. The Nigerian Medical Association can do it. We can have a very organized way of teaching people what the natural family planning.
Dr.
That's
Philip,
one thing we can do very easily.
That's interesting, but I want to take it back to the studio. Ms. Obey, what do you think about his opinions?
There used to be a joke about people who use the...
Sorry, can you repeat that?
No, we're back to the studio now. So just hold on a minute, Dr. Philip. I want to hear what Ms. Obey has to say about what you just said, what her opinion is on what you just said.
You see, I mean, it is true that there is something called natural family planning, natural contraception. And according to Dr. Philip, when a woman knows her body, she will be able to know when she's likely to conceive and so on and so forth. When she meets her rapist, or when the father in her house decides that it's today, she'll say, no, I'm sorry, this is not the right time. It does not work like that. I mean, I'm so sorry.
Or when is that incestuous
well, like I said, the father in the house,
yes,
or the brother. You see, the woman, and even women who know their bodies can get it wrong.
Sometimes.
So, and that's why you find a lot of people. And you know, let's understand that women who unexpectedly find themselves pregnant are not all saying, oh, well, the first thing I've got to do is get rid of it. Many of them say, actually, I wasn't expecting this child. I didn't want this child, but here I am, and I'm so happy. So this is why I think it's important to not to allow people to get away with the lie that to say you are pro-choice means that the only choice you have is to choose abortion, or even to present it as though the people who are pro-choice say that if you have an abortion, everything will be fine. Of course it's not. We know that it is extremely traumatizing. We know that it's a very difficult decision, even for mature people, to decide, I'm going to have to end this pregnancy. And it is not a matter of joy or now I'm going into the sunlit uplands. No, I think it's very wrong to present it as though that is the attitude in which people say, let the woman choose. Let the woman choose. Let her have as much counseling, as much advice. The possibility of, look, even if you don't want this child, somebody wants that child. There are so many possibilities, but when it is kept under the table, you fetishize the issue of virginity, you fetishize the issue of being unprepared to have sex, so you therefore don't use chemical methods of contraception and or artificial means of contraception, because if you are prepared to prevent contraception if you have intercourse, then you must necessarily be a bad girl and all this type of nonsense. Then you end up with a situation where the only resort is to quickly pretend it didn't happen, just get rid of it quickly. And I think that perhaps is the greatest violence of all. Okay. It's all about controlling women, controlling their bodies, and controlling what they have to say. We can all choose, as I said.
Okay. What do you have to say, Dr. Onyinye?
I would beg to differ a bit with my very respected senior colleague. You can, natural methods or fertility-based awareness methods are not 100% effective, even when the woman is using it perfectly. Okay. They are known to have...
This is in contradiction to what Dr. Philip just said, right?
Well, yes, a bit in contradiction. Even when they are known to have the highest failure rates among
the natural...
Yes, the natural calculations, the fertility-based awareness methods. Wow. They have the highest failure rates, even when compared with the modern contraceptive options. Yes.
So why do they have such a high failure rate?
Well, because, you know, your body cannot be clockwork every time. We all know that the menstrual cycle, ovulation are affected by a lot of factors, stress, vis-a-vis many other factors. And then you would even see women, sometimes you ask women, you know your cycle length, they will usually tell you, oh, between 26 to 28 days or thereabout. It mustn't be clockwork 26 days every month or clockwork 28 days every month, and all these things also affect the time you're likely to ovulate and all that. So even if you're tracking, and then sometimes we know, okay, all the signs of ovulation, you see this, you're likely ovulating, all those things are not 100% foolproof as well. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Benjamin. Dr. Philip, I don't know why I keep saying Dr. Benjamin. Dr. Philip, are you in the house? Dr. Philip, you heard what our other guests... Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
No, but let me ask you a question first.
I heard, but I also beg to differ. I also have to differ from what they have said. And I can say categorically is incorrect. The natural methods are 100% correct. Now, the implementation of it might be wrong, as she rightly pointed out. But the method itself, the system itself works. And what she's talking about is the old Billings method only. No, now there is a multiple combination of methods. And the NAPRO technologists, who there, you have many of them around Lagos, can show you exactly how and coach the woman on how to do this. But if there was a national program whereby people can learn this in schools and people can get expertise advice on this, this will change the whole scenario. And we will have a system that works rather than this indoctrination with chemicals, with the most toxic chemicals on earth. The estrogen is so stable a compound, it never decomposes. Even you get it into your water. If you take the lagoon water now, you will find estrogen in it from all the contraception of women in Lagos. And so you don't even have to take an extra estrogen. You just take the one from lagoon. It's enough for contraception. Anyway, Dr. Philip. That is how stable the compound is.
Dr. Philip, yes, yours has been a very, very, very controversial, very, very questionable, and sometimes totally unbelievable assessment of this pro-life and pro-choice. I personally, or my guests personally...
No, I am telling... No,
do not necessarily agree with everything.
Just take what I just said. Just take what I just said.
Yeah, but you don't speak for the majority. Lagoon, you don't speak for the majority, though. You speak for pro-lifers.
Well, I beg from you, because majority of Nigerians are pro-life. Yeah, majority of Nigeria, the survey has been done repeatedly. The majority of Nigerians are pro-life.
Anyway, it's interesting. So unfortunately, we don't have all day, but you've strongly stated your point, as my guests have also stated that. So at the end of the day, we just hope that the right decision is made by the woman, not the government, not general public, but the woman carrying the pregnancy herself. Thank you so much, Dr. Philip, not Dr. Benjamin. Thank you so much for a most riveting morning, and I'll be back to visit you again on some other issues. I'd love to hear your strong opinions. Thank you so much as well, Dr. Onyinye. Thank you so much, Ms. Obey, for being with us this morning. And like I said, I wish we had more time, but I hope everybody has been able to put their points across. Thank you so much for being with us on Perspectives.
Thank you.
The pro-life and pro-choice sides of abortion doesn't truly reflect the complexity of how most people actually think and feel about abortion. The shades of grey in the abortion debates are why the reproductive rights discussion is far from simple. Instead of putting people in one category or another, we should respect the real-life decisions people and their families face every day concerning abortion. Someday, maybe abortion may grow increasingly rare, but for this to happen, individuals from all socio-economic backgrounds and regions would need to have access to cost-effective and reliable forms of contraception. That's all we have for today on Perspectives. And remember, life is a learning curve. So I'll see you next week. My name is Ruth Osime. Thank you for watching Perspectives. See you next week.